My dad demanded I give my golden child, brother, $100 from my inheritance. But when I refused, they tried to sabotage my wedding. So I did this, and now they came begging for forgiveness. Throwaway, for obvious reasons. I've been lurking on this sub for years, but never thought I'd be posting here. So my grandma Ruth passed away about 2 months ago after a short battle with pancreatic cancer. It all happened really fast. Like she was diagnosed and then gone within like 8 weeks. I'm still pretty torn up about it because she was basically my mom. Some background. My actual mom died in a car accident when I was 8, and my dad, Harry, kind of checked out emotionally after that. He was so depressed he could barely function, and Ruth stepped in and basically raised me. I mean, we still lived with my dad technically, but he was just there, not really parenting, if that makes sense. When I was 10, my dad remarried to this woman, Diane. She had very strong opinions about how kids should be raised, and she never really bonded with me. I was always just this obligation to her, like this awkward reminder of my dad's previous life that she had to deal with. Then she got pregnant with my half-brother Jimmy, pretty much right after they got married, and from the moment he was born, he became the golden child. I'm not exaggerating when I say the difference in how we were treated was night and day. Some examples. When I turned 16, I had to get a part-time job if I wanted spending money, while Jimmy got an allowance that was literally more than what I made in 2 weeks working at a coffee shop, and I worked like 20 hours a week on top of school. For my high school graduation, I got a $50 gift card to Barnes & Noble. Meanwhile, Jimmy got a brand new car just for passing his driver's test. Not even a used car, a new one. The biggest difference was college. I had to hustle for scholarships and work 30 hours a week just to afford tuition and a crappy apartment with 3 roommates. Meanwhile, Jimmy had his entire education paid for, plus a luxury apartment near campus, plus spending money. He didn't even have to work, and he still managed to flunk out after 3 semesters, but somehow that was the university's fault, not his. I graduated with honors while working the whole time, by the way. I still maintained a relationship with my dad and would go to family gatherings, but I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. Ruth was really my only ally. She always made me feel loved and supported when the rest of my family made me feel like an inconvenience. God, I miss her so much. After Ruth passed, we had the will reading. She left me approximately $350,000, and the will specifically stated it was solely for Elaine. She even included a personal letter explaining that she wanted to ensure my future security since I had to work so hard for everything while my brother had been given so much. I cried for hours after reading it. Some context. I'm engaged to Mark, male, 34, who I met at the accounting firm where we both work about 4 years ago. We've been planning our wedding for the past 7 months. It's happening in about 3 months. We've been saving for a house down payment for years, and this inheritance would finally make our dream possible. Housing prices are insane where we live, and this would be life-changing for us. About a week after the will reading, I got a call from my dad. He first asked how I was doing after the funeral, then quickly switched to what he called family business matters. He told me Jimmy's latest business venture was having money problems. When I didn't offer help, he directly asked me for just $100,000 from my inheritance to help Jimmy get things back on track. He called it a windfall, like I won the lottery instead of losing someone I loved. I told him that Mark and I have plans for the inheritance. Our house, wedding costs, maybe starting a family soon. He got annoyed and said family should help family. I reminded him how I never received help for college or my first apartment or anything really. He dismissed this, saying it was different and that I was always so independent. Translation, we didn't help you because we didn't want to. I refused, and he got really angry. He called me selfish and ungrateful and said I was keeping money while my brother struggled. He said Ruth hadn't left Jimmy anything because she never gave him a chance and was always playing favorites. He ended by telling me I'd regret this and that this family takes care of its own. I still can't believe he said that to me. It sounded like something from a bad movie. Since then, I've been getting texts from extended family members calling me greedy and saying I should do right by my brother. What they don't mention is that this is Jimmy's 3rd failed business. First was some premium dog food delivery service that lost $30,000 of family money. then a cryptocurrency investment scheme that somehow burned through $60,000 of my dad and Diane's retirement savings. But I'm the irresponsible one somehow. His current business is a subscription box for luxury candles. I'm pretty sure it's failing because he spends more time posting pics of himself on Instagram as a CEO than actually working. And get this, he bought a new sports car 2 weeks ago. But sure, he desperately needs my inheritance money for his business. Honestly, I know how this looks. Like, most people would say, don't give him the money. But when it's family, it gets so messy, and I've spent my whole life being told I'm selfish whenever I don't go along with what they want. What's confusing to me is that I always thought my dad at least understood how hard I worked compared to Jimmy, even if he never actually stood up for me. I'm getting really anxious about my upcoming wedding. Some family members have implied they might not come if I don't make things right with Jimmy. Part of me thinks I should just give Jimmy the money to keep the peace, but that's literally a third of my inheritance. And I know my grandma wouldn't want him to have it. She was very specific in her will. But also, am I being selfish? Should I help my brother? I mean, he is family. But then again, so am I, and they never helped me. But two wrongs don't make a right. But it's my inheritance. I'm just so torn. Mark says I shouldn't give them a penny and that they're toxic, but he's never really had family drama, so I don't think he gets how complicated this is. Am I wrong for refusing to bail out my brother with my inheritance? Should I just give in for the sake of family peace? Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up so much. Thank you all for the supportive comments. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, I have the money in my account already. The estate was settled quickly because Ruth had everything organized. 2. No, I haven't told my father or Jimmy exactly how much I inherited. They just know it was substantial from what the lawyer said. 3. I've already talked to Mark about this, and he's 100% on my side. He actually wanted me to cut contact with my family years ago because of how they treat me. I probably should have listened, to be honest. 4. For those asking if Jimmy has ever paid back previous loans, no, of course not. They're never treated as actual loans in my family, just helping family. But somehow, when I need help, it's different. 5. A lot of you are asking why Ruth didn't leave anything to Jimmy. I don't know for sure, but I think she saw how differently we were treated growing up. 6. To those suggesting I get a lawyer, the money is already in my account and the will was very clear. I'm not worried about them challenging it legally. I'm more worried about the emotional fallout and potential loss of what little family I have left. Now for the first update. So, a lot has happened since my last post. First, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Reading through all your support honestly made me cry, in a good way. It helped me feel like I wasn't crazy for not wanting to give Jimmy the money. My wedding is now only 20 days away, and I was supposed to be excited and finalizing all the fun little details, but instead, I'm dealing with this mess. The day after I posted, my Aunt Beverly called me out of nowhere. She warned me that my dad, Diane, and Jimmy were furious about me refusing to help the family, and were talking about making me sorry for not sharing. I honestly just brushed it off, thinking they were being dramatic. Like, what were they gonna do? Throw a tantrum? I figured they'd eventually get over it and at least act civil by the wedding. I was completely wrong. For the past 3 weeks, weird stuff started happening with our wedding plans. At first, it seemed like normal wedding planning chaos. The wedding planner called confused about some changes to the menu and flower order that I supposedly requested. I was like, no, I never asked for any changes. And she was like, but someone called saying they were you. Then, our photographer called to confirm the cancellation, which was extra weird because we love our photographer and had already paid the deposit. I just assumed they were honest mistakes until the venue called. Someone called them claiming to be me and tried to cancel our entire venue and have the deposit refunded to a different account. Like, what the actual hell? That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. Mark and I spent that entire weekend calling every single vendor to confirm our arrangements and set up passwords for any future changes. It was exhausting and totally not how we wanted to spend our weekend 3 weeks before the wedding. But the worst thing happened at my final dress fitting last week. I was so excited to see my dress with all the alterations finished. I'd been looking forward to this appointment for months. I get to the boutique and the seamstress has this really uncomfortable look on her face, She's like, "There's been an issue with your dress." I felt sick. She takes me back and shows me my beautiful dress with these massive red wine stains all down the front and a big tear along one of the seams. I just couldn't stop crying. Like, how does something like that even happen? The shop owner was apologizing over and over, saying they had no idea how it occurred and that nothing like this had ever happened before. Between sobs, I managed to ask if they had security cameras. The owner looked really uncomfortable, but eventually took me to her office and showed me footage from 2 days earlier. And there was Diane, my stepmom, on camera. She waltzed into the shop claiming to be the mother of the bride and asked to see my dress because she was so emotional about the upcoming wedding. The consultant left her alone with the dress for maybe 2 minutes, and that's when Diane pulled a little bottle from her purse and deliberately poured red wine all over the front. Then she grabbed the seam and pulled until it tore. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was literally shaking watching the footage. I immediately called Mark and showed him the video through my phone. He was just as shocked as I was. The shop owner was super apologetic and offered to rush order a replacement dress at a discount. Thank God. But I was just so upset. Like, who does that? After that, I became paranoid about what else they might try to ruin. Mark and I started investigating and found out someone had called our caterer claiming to be Mark's mom and said we wanted to switch to a cheaper menu because of financial problems. We also discovered that Mark's parents got anonymous emails saying I had a history of financial manipulation and had trapped Mark for his money, which is hilarious because we make almost exactly the same salary at the same firm. Through Aunt Beverly, we learned that Jimmy has been telling everyone that I stole his inheritance and that the money was supposed to be split equally, which is a complete lie. Ruth's will was crystal clear. Oh, and Jimmy showed up at my workplace last week. He came into the lobby of our accounting firm during lunch hour and started yelling about how I had stolen family money. Security had to escort him out while all my coworkers watched. It was so humiliating. I took the rest of the week off and have been working remotely since. After all this, I called Ruth's lawyer to see if there was anything I could do legally to make them stop. That's when I found out something I didn't know before. Apparently, Ruth excluded Jimmy from her will because he had stolen $50,000 from her savings account 3 years ago while she was in the hospital with pneumonia. Jimmy had claimed it was a loan for his second business venture, that cryptocurrency thing, but never paid her back, despite her asking multiple times. The lawyer actually had a letter Ruth had written explaining her decision. She kept it confidential because she wanted to spare family drama. So yeah, Mark and I have had to completely change our wedding plans. We're moving everything to our friend's lakeside property, hiring security guards, cutting the guest list to only people we absolutely trust, and I bought a new dress. We're not telling anyone the new location until 48 hours before the ceremony, but I'm done just defending myself. I've been gathering evidence of all the sabotage. I found my dad's phone number in the call logs of 3 different vendors who received cancellation requests. I have the security footage from the dress shop. I have screenshots of the fake emails sent to Mark's family. I'm creating a record of everything they've done. I'm going to use the truth against them. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do with all this evidence yet, but I want to be ready. And no, I'm still not giving Jimmy a single penny of my inheritance. Now, I'm even more certain that's exactly what my grandma would want. Edit. I'm literally overwhelmed by all your comments and support. Thank you so much to everyone who's taken the time to respond. To answer some common questions. 1. Yes, we've already changed all our passwords and set up 2-factor authentication on everything. We're being super careful. 2. A few people asked if I've considered a restraining order. Yes, we're looking into it, but apparently we need to show a pattern of behavior and direct threats to get one. We're documenting everything though. 3. For those suggesting we elope, honestly, we've considered it, but we really want to celebrate with our friends who have been so supportive. 4. Several people have asked about Ruth's letter. I don't feel comfortable sharing the entire thing, but basically she explained that she was leaving me the money because she saw how hard I worked for everything while Jimmy was given everything. She also mentioned the $50 incident and said she was deeply disappointed in him. 5. To those asking about Mark's reaction, he is livid. He wanted to confront my dad directly, but I convinced him that wouldn't help anything right now. 6. For everyone suggesting I cut contact with my family, I mean, they're making that pretty easy at this point, aren't they? Now for the second update. Sorry it's been so long since my last update, like 2 months, I think. First off, yes, the wedding actually happened. After all that sabotage crap, we managed to pull off something even better than we originally planned, to be honest. Our friend's lakeside property turned out to be better than the fancy hotel we originally booked, and we had a sunset ceremony. The weather was perfect, which was crazy considering we had to plan everything last minute. I guess sometimes things really do work out. We hired actual professional security guards. Never thought I'd need that for my wedding, but here we are, with a strict guest list at the entrance. Only people with formal invitations and ID were allowed in. We ended up with only about 50 guests instead of the original 150, and honestly, it felt so much more intimate and special. Everyone kept saying how personal it felt. So I guess one good thing came out of all the mess. We had a smaller, but way more meaningful wedding with just the people who actually care about us. But of course, my family couldn't just let us have our day. About an hour before the ceremony, Harry, my dad, Diane, and Jimmy showed up at the entrance and tried to get in. The security team stopped them, and apparently Diane started screaming that she had a right to be at her daughter's wedding, which is hilarious because she has literally never once referred to me as her daughter in the past 20+ years. Like, not once. But suddenly I'm her daughter when she wants to ruin my wedding. Sure. The security guys were amazing and super professional. They just calmly told them they weren't on the guest list and needed to leave. I could hear Diane yelling from where I was getting ready, but honestly, I was so focused on not letting them ruin my day that I just turned up the music and tried to ignore it. They eventually left after one of the guards mentioned calling the police. Anyway, the ceremony was beautiful. I cried, happy tears this time, and Mark looked so handsome in his suit and everything just felt right. You know, for those few hours, I completely forgot about all the mess with my family. After the wedding, we went on our honeymoon to Costa Rica for 10 days. It was amazing and exactly what we needed after all the stress. But I didn't just relax the whole time. I had a plan. See, while we were sipping cocktails on the beach during the day, at night Mark and I, with help from 2 super tech-savvy friends back home, were putting together what I started calling the Big Reveal. Basically, we created this entire website called The Truth About My Inheritance and Wedding Sabotage, where I laid out everything, and I mean everything. The complete timeline, all the evidence I'd gathered, screenshots of all their nasty messages, recordings of their voicemails. The security footage of Diane destroying my dress still makes me sick to watch. The call logs showing my dad and Jimmy's numbers contacting vendors to cancel services. I also included Ruth's letter explaining why Jimmy was excluded from the will, the $50 theft, and financial records showing Jimmy's history of just completely wasting money. I even found receipts showing he bought a Rolex while his second business was literally going bankrupt. I also added documentation of how I put myself through college with scholarships and multiple jobs, contrasted with receipts showing how my dad and Diane paid for Jimmy's tuition, apartment, and car. The most shocking thing I found, with Ruth's lawyer's help, was a voicemail my dad left Ruth about 2 months before she died. He was pressuring her to change her will and told her he'd keep me from visiting her if she didn't make things fair in her will. Like, who does that? To threaten to keep someone's granddaughter away while they're dying of cancer. I still can't believe he would do something that cruel. So the night before we flew home from our honeymoon, I sent the website link to everyone. Like, literally everyone. Extended family members, family friends, my dad's business associates, Jimmy's business partners, Diane's entire social circle. Everyone. With just a simple message, I wanted everyone to have all the facts, no more lies. Then I turned off my phone for our flight home and tried not to panic about what I'd just done. The fallout was intense. Within days, Jimmy's business partners pulled out after learning about his theft from Ruth and his pattern of wasting money. Several of my dad's construction business clients started canceling contracts because they were concerned about his ethics. Turns out clients don't love working with someone who tries to sabotage their own daughter's wedding. Who knew? Diane's family was horrified, especially her sister Gail, who was always actually nice to me growing up. Gail called me personally to apologize for Diane's behavior and said she couldn't believe what she saw in that security footage. Extended family members who had initially sided with Harry and Jimmy started reaching out to apologize after seeing all the evidence. Some of them admitted they'd only heard Jimmy's version, where he claimed I stole his inheritance and the money was supposed to be split equally, which was completely false. Then about 6 weeks after sending the website link, so like 2 weeks ago, there was a knock at the door of our new house. We just bought it with part of my inheritance, and we'd barely finished moving in. I opened the door, and there they were. Harry, Diane, and Jimmy standing there looking absolutely terrible. My dad asked if they could come in to talk, and his voice was missing that confidence he always had. Mark came to stand beside me. He's been so protective since all this happened, and asked what they wanted. Jimmy's eyes were all red like he'd been crying, and he said he came to apologize. I was shocked, to be honest. I reluctantly let them into our living room, but I stayed standing. No way was I going to get comfortable for whatever this was. My dad started with this whole, we didn't realize how things would look BS, and I just couldn't take it. I interrupted him and asked if they were sorry for what they did or just sorry they got exposed. That's when Diane broke down crying, saying her friends won't speak to her anymore. Jimmy admitted he's lost everything. His business partners, his girlfriend, even his apartment. Then my dad told me that his construction business is failing because 3 major clients pulled out after seeing the website. He said they're facing financial ruin and have all these legal issues with Jimmy's former business partners. That's when Jimmy finally confessed that the $100,000 they wanted wasn't even for his business, but to pay off gambling debts. Like, are you kidding me right now? So this whole time, they were trying to pressure me into giving them my inheritance to cover up the fact that Jimmy has a gambling addiction they've been enabling. And then, after all that, after everything they put me through, my dad had the absolute audacity to ask for financial help to get back on their feet. Mark literally laughed out loud in disbelief. I told them I wasn't giving them a single penny after what they did to me. My dad started with the, but we're family and family forgives line, and I lost it. I told him that family doesn't try to destroy their daughter's wedding, or steal their inheritance, or sabotage their relationships, or any of the other awful things they've done to me over the years. We had this long, emotional conversation where I basically told them I would not provide financial assistance, but I would be willing to pay for family therapy if they were genuinely interested in actually healing our relationship. I set very clear boundaries, accountability first, then maybe reconciliation over time. My dad initially rejected the offer, saying they needed real help, not talking, meaning money. But surprisingly, Diane actually supported the therapy idea. I think she's finally realized how toxic this whole dynamic has been. I've decided to use a portion of my inheritance to establish a scholarship in Ruth's name for students who have to put themselves through college with minimal family support. I want her legacy to help people like me who had to fight for everything. It feels like the right way to honor her and what she did for me. I feel empowered. After years of being the family scapegoat, I finally stood up for myself. The website consequences were honestly more severe than I expected. I didn't really think about how it might affect my dad's business, but I don't regret showing everyone the truth. Maybe it was petty, I don't know. But after what they did to my wedding dress, I just couldn't let them keep lying to everyone. Jimmy has apparently started attending Gamblers Anonymous, which gives me a tiny bit of hope that he might eventually change. I'm still not sure if I'm going to attend the first family therapy session scheduled for next month. Part of me is still so deeply hurt by everything they've done, but another part wants to at least try. Mark says I should do whatever feels right, and he'll support me either way. Right now, Mark and I are just focusing on making our new house a home and planning for our future together. We've decided to take a break from all the family trouble and just enjoy being newlyweds for a while. I guess what I've learned from all this is that sometimes the hardest people to stand up to are family, but sometimes the only way to be heard is to make sure everyone else hears the truth too. Edit. Oh my freaking God, thank you all for the awards and supportive comments. To answer some questions, I'm seeing a lot. 1. Yes, we have security cameras installed all around our new house. We're not taking any chances after everything that happened. 2. For those asking about legal action, I talked to a lawyer, and basically the website isn't considered defamation because everything on it is true, and I have evidence to back it all up. And they're the ones who would have to sue me, not the other way around. Number 3. Someone asked if I feel bad about my dad's business suffering. Honestly, I have mixed feelings. I didn't set out to ruin his business. I just wanted people to know the truth. But also, he tried to ruin my wedding, so consequences. 4. A few people are saying I should have just given Jimmy the money. Are you serious? $100 to pay off gambling debts. That would just enable him more. 5. To those asking if Mark and I plan to have kids. Yes, eventually. But we're enjoying married life first and want to finish settling into our new home.